See, if it's a question of survival, eat garbage and you survive, what's the problem? If it's about survival. I think largely we've passed that situation of how to survive. Now it's a question of choice. We've brought life to everything to a choice. Almost every human being can choose and eat. There still is a segment of unfortunate population which cannot choose, they have to eat what comes. But that's not so in this country. Definitely one can choose and eat.
Okay, dude, you ready?
I know words, I have the best words.
Most of the world has a completely different relationship with their food than we do here in America. Half of India are vegetarians, and whether or not that's for like economic reasons or for religious reasons, it's cool. That's great. It's really awesome that there are so many people that are not eating animals. But one thing they use a lot is dairy, and the interesting thing is that a lot of places in India, cows are worshipped. Like, you'll walk through the market and there will just be cows, like, with jewelry, and people, when they walk by the cows, they rub the cows, and they're really respected. I understand the argument that nature isn't for our exploitation. That was my argument. We're not here to exploit nature and take things from bees or kill animals, or, you know, that's just not our place to look at nature as ours to take. Like taking milk from cows. We're not baby cows. That's not our milk to take. It's a good argument and it makes a lot of sense because we aren't baby cows. But most of the world has to work with their immediate resources and able to survive. Here in America, we have the privilege of alternative and like unlimited choice. You can go to 5 supermarkets within 10 minutes of each other. Like, a lot of the world doesn't have this luxury. A lot of the world doesn't have supermarkets. They have to survive off what the local farm can produce. I never thought I would take milk or do anything like that again in my life, like if you would ask me a few years ago. Because veganism seems like such an obvious choice, especially being here in America. Like, it makes sense. We are not only destroying the planet for our diet, factory farming is one of the biggest causes for environmental impact than pretty much anything else, you know, regardless if that's taking down land to raise crop to feed cattle, or that is the gases being released from the millions of cattle and animals that we kill each year. These things have a pretty significant impact on the environment, more so than all like cars and airplanes and transportation put together. So as like an activist and someone that is trying to live through a compassionate lifestyle as much as possible, this is the right answer for me. It makes sense. It seems like completely not even a question. It's obvious that we should be vegan. But when I found myself traveling in India for almost 2 months and being miles away from any city, in the jungle, in some ashram, living with people that don't speak English, it's not comparable to the lifestyle of an American. And I had to adjust real quick, or else I would pretty much have to alter my experience to staying in places where I have choice. You know, like most big cities have, like, I don't know, Subway or Taco Bell. Or I could add some extra luggage and get like some cooking stuff, some cooking equipment, or like my own sort of cooking ingredients, which is not a horrible idea. And I know a lot of vegan people, especially like even some of my friends, they would be like, I would never. And that's fine. Like, that's how I was before I started traveling around. And I'm sure there are vegans that have successfully figured it out. But my realization was that veganism doesn't make sense for the entire world, and at least in this current situation that the world is in. I think it would do a lot more harm, actually, to hold these people to a vegan standard than it would to just continue them to kind of work with their immediate resources and survive what they have with what they can work with in their environment. Like, I think about like my parents preparing me for the real world. I get out into this real world of America and no one has any fucking clue what's going on in the actual real world. Like what's going on across the water or like down. We have no idea what the real world is. A lot of these places genuinely struggle with water and they have to, you know, survive off of their cattle and their milk and their eggs. And because of that, the relationship is not the same as you would get between a guy that works at a factory farm and his cattle. These cattle are treated as a part of the family a lot of the times because they are, you know, you have to treat your cattle good and you want to treat them good. So they produce this milk for you and they stay healthy. And especially in India, where I spent almost 2 months, this is what I observed. A place like America, where millions of these animals are just getting, like, farmed, literally, like, grown and then killed and then shredded and turned into Happy Meals. This is very disconnected and very wrong. This is not the right way to do this. And you could argue that any kind of civilized culture, or the culture that we kind of live in here in America, that we should all be straying away from consuming animals. There's no reason to at this point. All the fake meat alternatives and all like the science coming out that of how healthy a plant-based diet is, we should all be striving towards that if we live in the areas where this is possible. Being vegan is the most direct, active stance an individual can take to saving the planet. In places like America. Like if you live in the jungle, that protest doesn't really have the same impact. So what my point of this video is that if you're vegan and you're the kind of person that wants to go live in villages or stay in ashrams or, you know, be in places where you're really diving into the culture, you're going to have to loosen your noose of your vegan noose. You're going to have to loosen it up a little bit. You're going to have to travel with your own food, and I guess depending on how frequently you're traveling, that's not a horrible idea. Or you'll have to come to a place in yourself where you can recognize the differences in cultures and recognize reality. And yeah, I think that was more of my realization. I feel like it's a little bit more practical. And I know that's a jab to the vegan community, but I think it's just more realistic. I had no issues finding vegan options when I was in big cities. That's actually like one of my favorite things to do, is try the amazing vegan restaurants that are around the world. And there's some very good ones. And if there are none, you can always find like a Subway or something like that. So I don't know, I just get asked this question a lot, and I wanted to just kind of rant off about it. I think that's it. You know, I also get the question about veganism and spirituality. Like, do you have to be vegan to be spiritual? And I think that's the next topic I'm going to talk about in the context of veganism. So I don't know. Leave me a comment if there's any kind of video topics you want me to talk about. And if you want to support me, I have a clothing company called Stay Happy, Stay Weird. And this is a t-shirt from there. It says, "The earth needs all the friends it can get." So that's pretty relevant to this vegan kind of thing. The earth needs all the friends it can get. We need to be living a more compassionate lifestyle as much as we can. And I think we have to be practical while doing that. And it's going to be slow steps, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there. I have faith in humanity, baby. We're going to do it. So give this video a thumbs up. Peace and love.